this stage, this is sort of the least I have worked because I have the talent in my team, and my job is vision, strategy, aspiration, inspiration, conversations. But when you're in the thick of it, when I was, 20 some studios, I was the CFO, I was the CMO, I was the COO, I was the CEO, and I had to know everything and be involved in every conversation. So I was working around the clock, and
Welcome back, guys. We are here for another amazing episode of the FitBiz Journey podcast. So I'm here today with an amazing guest, Mahlum. Yes. I got it right this time. As you guys know, I butcher many names, and it's not fun, but I'm trying to make this Mahlum. Okay, good.
Yeah.
We're here today with Mahlum, founder and CEO of SolidCore. And guys, I'm crazy excited because what she have done in the past few years is not even comparable what she's going to do in the next few. She have just opened her 57th SolidCore locations, and by end of 2020, she will reach over 100. So we're here today to find out how the hell she have done that. So, Anne, without further ado, I guess let's just start out with, how did you even get started with this?
Yeah, so before SolidCore, I was running a nonprofit that I had started in Philadelphia in 2007. It was called, or is called, Back on My Feet, which uses running as a tool to help individuals who are homeless sort of rehabilitate their life and find independence through sport. And when I after 6.5 years of building that and took it national, like creating and building is what I am really good at and love to do. So kind of felt like, all right, it's time for something new. And I took a Pilates class in Los Angeles, and I had ran probably 9-10 marathons by that point. I worked out every day. I was like, oh, Pilates, this will be so easy. And I took the class and I got my butt kicked, and I didn't know that you could work out like that. Most of my mentality was working out is based off of beating your body up, jumping, running, pounding. And I was sore in all the places that felt like I was trying to work on. And after finding another Pilates studio in New York, which was where I was living at the time, I was like, I can do this better. And so I opened my first studio in November 2013, and that was the start of everything.
And do you guys hear that? I can do this better. That's basically a mindset of an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
And so 2013, right? And first studio. So let's start with, just for some people, because so many listeners are either thinking about opening up their first studio, or they just opened their first studio. So what would be like the number, because we could be here forever, but what would be the number one thing that you have learned you should do when you open up a studio, as either like a precautious thing that you need to like be aware of, or when you already opened, something that you would need to do and you learn the hard way or the good way?
Yeah, I think the first is, when you open any business, but we'll stick to fitness here, because it's such a consumer-facing brand, that you are the brand, right? For that first studio, I was going to be in there all the time. I'm coaching classes. So you better have this type of personality that people really want to be around, to get inspired by. You better be fit. You've got people coming in there thinking, I want to look like her, or what is she doing? And really be authentically connected to whatever concept it is that you're opening. And I was totally bought into this intensified version of Pilates. And everybody that walked in the door felt that and knew that. They saw me in there all the time. I was taking class, I was coaching. I created a very personalized space for people that was very community oriented. That people wanted to be a part of. So that's first, right? You've got to get your culture right. Don't just think like, oh, I'm going to open a yoga studio because there isn't one around here and we're going to make it. Like, you've got to have consistency in how you perform every day, and also who you hire, understanding what your principles are, why you're doing this, so that you are all on the same team and that you don't have coaches or instructors, whatever you call them, behaving or doing things that are not in line with the mission of your company. So really be clear about that with your team.
Exactly. That's, I think, a really good advice, just because there are so many coaches, so many ways. And if you let them come into your business and they do something completely different than what you believe in, then going to be pretty big problems.
Yep.
And So let's say you open up the first studio. So how long did it take when you decided that you want to have more than just one?
I knew that from the beginning. Okay. You know, people sometimes ask me in interviews, like, did you ever think you would, you know, have X number of studios? And when I say yes, they kind of are taken aback. And I'm like, how do you think these things happen? You know, it's like, it didn't just sort of happen by saying like, oh, I'm not really sure, but like, let's just maybe try to open a couple, 2 or 3. There was a really serious sort of game plan. I wanted to build an empire around a community that I thought was really authentic in the fitness space. So the first studio opened in November, the second one opened in March, the third one opened in May, the fourth one opened in July, the fifth one opened in November.
Wow.
And so you make a commitment to yourself to be like, I'm doing this. And if you nail the first studio and get that right, you sort of then start to figure out how you're going to evolve. And for me, go back to the people, a big portion of our success has been around our clients taking class and then our clients becoming coaches, because they're so in love with the workout that they now want to be on the other end of giving the workout to other people, and they know what it feels like. Again, they're bought into the brand, to the people, and it's really helped with the consistency piece.
That's amazing, that what you just said. So you have lots of, I assume, lots of clients who literally became coaches at your business?
More than 90%.
More than 90%?
Yeah.
Did you guys hear that? That's amazing.
Yeah.
I think that's unheard of. I mean, I heard a lots of people, I mean, not a lot, but I heard a few franchises that basically work like that. Mm-hmm. But you're not a franchise to begin with.
No.
So, and that's also rare, because there's not many companies out there that actually go ahead and go full force and they just go corporate and opening up, you know, their own studios.
Yeah.
So why did you decide that you're gonna go corporate versus franchise?
I don't know anything about franchising, for one. So that was part of the element. Yeah. When we started growing, we got to like 15 studios, we were approached by a few different people in the space who really knew franchising and wanted us to, you know, work with them, and they would, you know, build out our franchise. And it never felt right to me. When I'm like, we're not having an issue opening locations. Sure, could we have 400 locations at this point? But it's different when, at least for us, when it's not sort of coming from the nucleus. Mm-hmm. And our economics are so good that it doesn't make sense to turn that over to another owner and let that person reap all those benefits of the hard work that we created to build the brand. Mm-hmm. Now listen, if you have a concept where it's costing you $1 million to build out a space and it's taking you 3 years to get your money back, that's when it's like good to look into franchising. Our model is very different than that. So it was just, you know, we would have to charge like a 30% royalty fee
to make it.
Yeah, and it's like no one's ever going to agree to that, even though the owner or the franchisee would still be making good money. It's just unheard of in this space. So we're like, listen, we're just going to go full speed ahead. We're going to take an investment, which we did in 2017, find somebody that really wants to work with us, believes in our concept, wants us to grow corporately, and we'll stop growing 2 by 2. We'll start growing 3 by 3, 4 by 4, and really make a dent in this industry across the country.
Got it. So 2013 and 2017, you said 4 years after, right? Mm-hmm. You took an investment, basically? Yep. So, and at that time, how many studios you had?
25-ish.
25-ish, yeah. So at that point, you had a pretty big leverage over the investors. I mean, I'm sorry, don't need to talk about it, but meaning you already showed that it's working, obviously.
Yeah. And they, you know, it's sort of, they use this term a lot, which is add water, right? It's like, we don't want to change anything, keep doing what you're doing. We want to give you the infusion to do it faster and hire more talent so that we can get to, you know, 100 plus studios and let us know how we can help you. They've been fantastic.
At the same time, I wanted to also bring up that I saw constantly on your social media about marathons. So what was it all about?
Yeah, I think it was 3 weeks after the injury. And, you know, if you've never had a serious injury, which I had not, I remember my assistant, you know, it was the night that the injury happened, and I'm lying in the hospital, you know, my leg is in traction, and I had a speaking engagement the next week that I hear my assistant sort of talk about canceling, and I'm like, that's next week. Like, we're not canceling that. Like, let them sort of fix this thing. And, you know, you just have no idea. And I had no idea what I was in for. So it's now the 16th week. And as you saw me kind of still hobbling around. But yeah, at the third week, I'm like, I'm getting my life back and I'm signing up for a marathon. So this will be my 13th marathon, end of March. And I started to just ask a couple of people to join me. And it just sort of, yeah, and then it just was like, I'm in. And then people that I don't even know were sort of, can I join this team? And we're now up to over 260 people.
Wow.
Yeah, we're going to come and run. And Dan, you committed this morning, which is great.
Yes.
See, this is how it happens.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so it's, yeah. So it's exciting. Like a lot of my family's going to be there, friends, people again like I don't know, and we're going to make it like a fabulous weekend out of it.
And when is this at exactly?
March 28th.
March 28th. So when do you start training for that?
I don't know. You know, like that's my bone has to heal. So there's a rod in my leg with pins. Yeah. And I did get an infection, so that's a little bit of an unknown as we sort of move me off antibiotics to see if the infection is completely gone. So I'm hoping that I'll be running by beginning of November, jogging and stuff like that. But I'm doing PT 3 days a week right now.
Awesome.
Starting to do SolidCore arms and abs classes and working every day on getting stronger.
Awesome. So good to hear that. And what I was going to say, so you have over almost 300 people running and everything, and it's in next March, right? Mm-hmm. So, well, if you are actually lining up and running, then, okay, I will do it too.
Okay. This is great. Now we have proof.
I will be there. We have proof, yeah. And everybody knows that I hate running, by the way. But, I mean, I used to because I had to a lot. But where is it at? Is it in New York City?
DC. It's in DC.
Okay,
yeah.
So that's even better.
Okay,
Less
great.
Toxic air.
Yeah, perfect.
Okay, so you will have to send me the details, and I have to sign up, and you guys heard it, so now I can't back out of it.
That's amazing.
That's
I love
my
it.
goals.
Great.
Put it out to the world.
Yeah.
Anyways, let's get back to this a little bit, because we went really away from the beginning that I really wanted to talk about too, is so many people are like, man, how the hell did you open up like 6, 7, 8 studios in the first year? And then you obviously had a serious plan, and then on top of that, obviously you needed lots of money. So either there are some people who grow completely from their profits and they go just one by one, and it takes time, and if they mess up something or there are mistakes, they have to step back 2 steps and then go maybe 1 forward. So in your case, did you already have some background to able to put it in as your own money, of course? Or
yeah, I started SolidCore with all my own money. I had saved. It was about $175,000, and yeah, I was all in. I put all my chips on the table. And again, it's sort of I also think whenever people look for investment from me at this point, the first question I ask is, how much of your own money are you putting in? And if the answer is sort of, well, none or very little, I'm immediately out. I'm like, if you don't have enough confidence in yourself to put your own money in, why in the world would I put my own money in? And that's a really important, I think, lesson for folks, because you're just there's doubt, right? If you're not willing to put your own money in, you've got doubt around something, and I don't want any part of a doubt. If you're going to take my money, I want you to feel like you are the absolute best person to start this concept. You're not going to fail, and you're going to show me that by taking out a second mortgage on your house or something. So yeah, I went all in, and I rolled the profits of the studio into the next studio, and then I rolled the profits of that studio into the next studio. And you get creative, right? Like, the machines I had to buy, the construction, I would work out deals like, can I have an extra 30 days to pay? And just sort of working with somebody and them understanding I'm a small business owner, I'm just starting, and them feeling confident in my abilities, but being able to ask for what it is I want and understanding my economics, my finances, and my books. And if you don't, you need to find somebody who does, but also not finding somebody who's, because a lot of financial planners or accountants, and my accountant is still mine, but he will tell you the first thing he said to me was, do not open a gym. They have very high failure rates. This is crazy, and don't do this. And, so after that conversation, it was like, I'm not looking for advice whether to do this. I'm looking for advice around the financial portion of it. So anyway, those pieces are really, really important. And I also believe in momentum. We were really the first kind of boutique fitness concept in DC. There was no SoulCycle, no Flywheel, no Berries, no Rumble, no anything in DC 5.5 years ago now. And I felt pretty confident that the market was hungry for this kind of concept. It's an affluent market, but it's also a very hardcore, very type A personality that lives in DC. And they work for what they want in their life. And so once I sort of saw, okay, we've got a couple good months here, it was immediately, let's build off of the momentum, get a second one, get a third one open. And while we were doing really well, there is something that that momentum does to the brain. When you start to see 3 or 4 of these, people think, wow, what am I missing out on? I see this thing everywhere. I better go check it out.
Yes.
On that topic, one really good book to read is Robert Cialdoli and its Influence, and it's about psychology of how people are influenced and sort of the decisions that they make when you don't even realize you're being marketed to, and all of those things. So again, I just believe very strongly in the power of momentum, and then you figuring out how your role needs to evolve to operate 3 locations as opposed to 1.
So, do you have any advice for currently either personal trainers, gym owners, or fitness entrepreneurs who are about to start their business? Or you can also go into the ones who just have a single location and they can decide what to do next.
Yeah, I think before, there's nothing wrong or right around owning 3 locations versus 50 versus 1 versus 100. And you need to decide what you want your life to look like, right? If you're like, listen, I don't want to, my job at this point, I can just think through the different iterations of having 1 to 10 to 20 to 30 to 40 and how my lifestyle was very different during all those phases. At this stage, this is sort of the least I have worked because I have the talent in my team, and my job is vision, strategy, aspiration, inspiration, conversations. But when you're in the thick of it, when I was, 20-some studios, I was the CFO, I was the CMO, I was the COO, I was the CEO, and I had to know everything and be involved in every conversation. So I was working around the clock, and I knew, I was okay with that because I like to work, but it was I knew what I was driving toward. Now listen, if you want to have 1 studio and you like your life the way that it is, that's not unsuccessful, right? You're I'm making a conscious choice. I like coaching or teaching, 2 classes a day and being able to work maybe a couple of hours and have the rest of my day to myself. That's amazing. You know yourself well enough to do that. So I think really talking to people along the way who've maybe got 10, 20, 50 to 100 and asking folks, what is your day-to-day life like? How much stress do you have? And then deciding for yourself if that's a journey you want to take before going down the road, have some of those conversations.
Exactly, and that reminded me. So what was your day look like back in the day, let's say in 2015? And what does it look like today? Just so people have a measurement.
Man, 2015. It was constant. There was construction calls, and I was the key decision maker on everything. So no decision got made in the company without me involved. Construction calls. What's happening in our current build outs. What are those problems? Real estate. What new deals are we looking at? And I'm going to look at different locations to ensure that I think it's a great location for us. Retail, right? Proving and looking at all the retail that we're ordering. Coaching still, because I thought it was, and I still coach, I thought it was super important for me to be in the studio still. Trying to make sure I connected to all of my team members and that they know who I am. Hiring people and being involved in all the hiring issues. So all of those elements, I think I was working from 7 a.m. till 10 o'clock at night, right? And I was okay with that. Now, there are leases that get signed that I never see. I don't look at any of the locations anymore. I'm not choosing our retail. I'm not involved. We've got people that have been trained that I trust to do all of those things. My day-to-day is much more around, again, inspiring my team, having conversations, sitting down and asking how you're doing, how can I best serve you, working with my COO and CFO on how can we move the needle on our revenue per head, which is, how much money each client is paying per class. As we're looking at sort of innovating in the space, are there certain events that we can be doing? What do we need to be doing beyond now that doesn't sit? So it's a lot more creation now than it was back then when it's just running the operations. It's my job to continue to innovate and create and serve as a strategy and a visionary for my team, and to connect with my team so that people feel like the leader and the CEO is someone very relatable and that they want to work for, and that I'm much more of a brand ambassador these days than I was back then.
That's amazing. That's goals for most of not everyone, but that's goals for many, many business owners, because even people who are successful as you are in one level, as in how many locations they have or maybe how much money they make, they might not have 90% of what you just said.
Right.
That's awesome.
And write that stuff down. It's I really think it's important for you and your team, if you look at January, December, and you're doing the exact same tasks that you were in January, no one's growing. you're not developing your team the way that you need to. You're not trusting them in some way. And I also think it's like you need to be doing a lot of this. If you're sort of getting upset with your team and it's more than one person and it's like this person doesn't do this this, you're probably not doing a great job of developing and letting go and trusting. It's not everybody else. Most of the time it's usually you.
That's awesome. That's spoken as a true leader.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
And then lastly, where could people find you right now?
Instagram is probably the best way. I try to stay active on there, so it's just my name, Ann Mahlum, and I'm pretty open with my email address. It's just ann@solidcore.co. I try to mentor a couple of people, every month or so. Pick up a phone call if someone's got a question and is really sort of like, I would love to talk to you. This is the 2 things I need help with. That's also my advice, actually, guys. If you're reaching out and asking for someone's time, I've had mentor calls where it's just like, I just want to, can you just tell me how you did this? And that's just such an ambiguous question. And I don't appreciate that. I'm like, listen, I'm giving time for free here. 30 minutes, how can I specifically help you? What problem are you trying to solve? And I'll do the best that I can. So anyway, I think it's everybody's responsibility to do a little bit of that, but also the responsibility of the person asking for the time to come prepared with what you're looking for.
Exactly. Because you can meet with the number 1 person on earth that could give you all the answers that you need, but if you don't know the right questions, you don't get nothing out of it. And so real quick, what is in the future for you and for your company right now before we wrap this up?
Yeah, I mean, it's no secret that I've said numerous times that, SolidCore will sell at some point. We took an investment for that reason to grow the company and sell to the right partner down the road. And then, which won't change a lot with the company. When you sell to the right person, people just want to say, gosh, there's 100 plus of these. Let's put 400 of them and keep building this impressive, amazing, brand across the country and possibly internationally. And at that point, I'm as serial entrepreneur as they come. I'm already getting, the itch, and I want to create and build. And that's really important to me to think about which different ways that I can impact, which goes back to what I said before of, Back on My Feet, the nonprofit that I started is doing amazing. The different CEO now, of course, different board, but it was my job to create the concept, get it to sustainable, and then let someone else run it. SolidCore will be the same thing.
That's awesome.
And then the next thing, I'm really passionate around social issues, and I think I'll get back in that space, possibly creating a family fund that, works on solving some of these economical issues that are out there, the income disparity, the income inequality, education, healthcare. A lot of these things are very interesting to me, and it feels like we can't come up with some creative solutions, and that's what my brain's good at.
Awesome. That's, guys, amazing. Thank you so much.
Yeah, my pleasure, Dan.
This was an amazing episode. I'm super excited to share it, and thank you again for taking the time.
Yeah, my pleasure. Thanks.
Thanks, and I have to run a marathon.